And send. Okay. I finally uploaded that music reaction video. Now I can focus on my anime video. I don't expect the music video to get very many views, so I'm sure it's gonna be fine. What the Okay, so before YouTube, I wrote on my personal blog about anime stuff and whatever I wanted to write about. So I made a tradition to rank everything I watched every anime season. I'm gonna try to continue that tradition, but I'm now a bit nervous about it. My reacting to 2025's worst music video, that got almost 500 views. While that's not a whole lot compared to my previous peak of 62, it's kind of getting me a bit nervous to post this video because I don't know how the algorithm works yet. I don't know if it's going to not show this video because it's a different type of video than people subscribe to me for and whatever. But at the same time, I'm stubborn. So, you know what? Screw it. I'm making this. Now, obviously, I can only rate shows that I've actually watched, so don't be like, where's Hell's Paradise Season 2? If I don't mention it, it means I didn't watch it. That being said, there is a lot of shows that I did watch but didn't really watch enough episodes to really feel confident ranking, so let me get through those real quick. Tune into The Midnight Heart. I don't know why I watched this. Main dude seems kind of a and the 4 potential love interests seem very bland and uninteresting to me personally. The Invisible Man and his soon-to-be wife looks cute, you know. Main character is invisible, other main character is blind, they're a perfect couple. It's just a cute idea. The thing is, I was also expecting kind of like, what will society say about the Invisible Man? Does he have to hide himself in order to not reveal his identity as invisible? But no, this is just a world where just monsters and aliens roam the planet. Their co-worker is like a literal cat person. It's it's different from what I expected. I actually kind of dropped it because I'm like, man, I wanted to see social political issues talked in my cute fantasy romance show. I've kind of felt bad not keeping this in my rotation because I saw that clip of the cat girl throwing the hands on like this chicken person in like a 1950s gangster outfit or something. I don't know, I might come back to this. Scum of the Brave. This one seemed kind of fun. I like the character designs. The humor seems to be up my alley. Let me just say this right here. I have a very arbitrary set of rules when it comes to setting up my schedule. It's 2 animes per weekday and 1 anime per weekend. Watch an episode in the morning and then an episode at night, you know, before and after work, and then 1 episode on Saturdays because that's usually the chore day that I do when that I couldn't do when I was at work. And then Sunday, it's do volunteer work and then maybe play D&D for the rest of the night. And then go to Bible study. There's not really much room on the weekends to watch anime as many people usually do. I would have liked to continue watching this show, but I've noticed that it only has a single Sakugaboru entry, so maybe it was for the best. I don't know if I want to watch an action show where the action is very rare. You and I are polar opposites. Now this one, I'm kind of sad I had to pause it for my 1 show a weekend rule, because this show actually seems great. Visually, it reminds me of like late 2000s, early 2010s Studio Shaft. This show seems good. Like, not only does the titular polar opposite couple actually get together in episode 1, it just seems like a fun time. I've heard nothing but good things about it from friends I know online, so I'll definitely pick this up later in the year or something. Kaya-chan isn't scary. This one's about a psychic girl who has the ability to see ghosts and then proceeds to punch the crap out of these ghosts. It's a fine concept, but it's not a very pretty looking show. Even the adult characters aren't exactly the brightest of the bunch. It just feels like an excuse to just write short horror stories or something. I just kind of wasn't feeling it. I dropped it after 1 episode. Easygoing territory defense by the Optimistic Lord. Now, unlike everything else I just mentioned, I actually watched 2 episodes of this instead of just 1. Weird, because I do not remember this show at all. I think the only memories of this show I have are Isekai Slop and Minecraft or something. I don't know. Nothing about this is memorable to me at all. It just seems like something that was put out there just to fill a time slot or something. Why did I watch 2 episodes of this? It was so boring. Jeez, man. Alright, let's start the ranking. Out of all the shows I've watched at least 3 episodes of, the one that I think is technically my least favorite is the Darwin incident. I watched this because there was a monkey on the cover. Actually, I watched this because I found out that the voice of Freeran is voicing a monkey. Charlie is a human Z, a experiment between a monkey and a human being's DNA, just an outsider from pretty much all of life. I view his character as a metaphor for a lot of minority groups. Charlie's existence kind of feels very reminiscent of those experiences, especially when he goes to school and all of the kids around him are like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, oh, I want a photo op, almost like not really treating him as a person, but more as like a novelty, a pet even. It just feels like a lot of his autonomy is stripped from him, but he still kind of moves through life trying to find the best of it, and I kind of respect that. Now, the rest of the show is a bit of a weird mixed bag. The show kicks off with Charlie's mother being rescued by the Animal Liberation Alliance before he was officially born. During that scene, they come in wearing these V for Vendetta masks, toting guns, threatening to hurt the people there, but there was also a bit of dialogue during that scene that showed that the whole guns blazing stuff was a bit of a bluff, and they were really more worried about freeing the animals than hurting other people. 15 years later, they blow up a restaurant. The show then the show then pivots to this narrative beat of vegans being persecuted because they're being compared to terrorists. Listen, I get what they're going for. This is set in America. This whole thing is supposed to be a metaphor for when, like, a radical sect of a community, a religion or something, is used as a tool for discrimination against everyone in that community or religion or whatever. I get what it's trying to go for. The Darwin incident does do good things with this concept, asking a lot of interesting philosophical questions, but I need to suspend my disbelief a lot if I'm going to watch a show try to compare vegans to people who have been persecuted for their religion. It just seems a really goofy way to go about it. I also don't know if it's that well written of a show in order to keep up that suspension of disbelief, especially around like episode 4. I still liked this show, but it was just so frustrating to like keep watching that I just ended up like dropping it around episode 5. I've heard it goes to some wild places around the time I ended up dropping it, but I don't know, I just don't really care for it that much anymore. You can check it out and see for yourself though. Next up we got Sentenced to Be a Hero. This might be a bit of a hot take, but I just felt the first episode was a bit of a slog. If you read the synopsis of the show on Crunchyroll before officially watching it, you're probably not going to get the best experience either. The show's biggest mystery and most interesting plot point isn't revealed until the end of episode 1, which, mind you, is 58 minutes long. At this point, I just wanted to write this off as a dark fantasy slop show and just move on from my life. But the show surprisingly got better past episode 1. The art is consistently great, the character drawings are great, the explosions are mesmerizing each and every time. The show just looks pretty in general. I love most of the side characters. Norgale is this terrorist who believes he's the true king, but he's so charismatic that you actually do believe that he's the king. He's so good at leading people, it's actually kind of inspiring in a weird way. I love Tatsuya, who's been resurrected so many times he lost all forms of thought, but when he's in battle, he's like the most brutal and terrifying creature on the planet. Sav, he's a psychopath, but he's a very likable psychopath. The only characters that I don't really care for that much are like the female ones. Teorita just kind of seems like very, how do you say, 1,000-year-old dragon coated. She looks and acts like she's 12, but she's not really. And Kivia just seems like a generic tsundere love interest to me. Kivia does have that girl boss energy going for her, but it's still not really enough for me to care all that much about her character. Outside of that, I think like the art, the story, the world building, which I don't know how to get into. I think a lot of factors that go into this show are actually very solid and worth watching. My main problem though is that around episode 7 you kind of learn everything you need to learn about the big behind the scenes mystery, and it stops being kind of interesting to unravel after that. Also, this show is fun. It's not necessarily deep. It's just it is dark fantasy slop, but it's like above average dark fantasy slop. Next up is Ganglion. You probably don't know what that is. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. There is no legal way to watch Ganglion, unfortunately. Even if you do find a way to watch it, each episode is only 3 minutes long, so by the time the show stops airing, you've essentially only watched like the length of 3 standard length TV episodes. So why am I recommending this show? Why is this higher than Sentenced to Be a Hero or whatever? Because it's funny, okay? I love the concept of putting bureaucracy into places where it doesn't belong. In this case, it's tokusatsu. The show is from the perspective of an enemy grunt who's just trying to get through life. Like he's an emissary for evil, but he's treating it like he's just a salary worker. It's just so funny. It's also a very good looking show as well. It's from the same director as Komi-san and Summertime Rendering, and later this year, Witch Hat Atelier. If you have the time and you want to see something goofy and funny that won't take you too long to check out Ganglion. Also, the ED is absolutely incredible. It makes me sad that it's only like 30 seconds long. Next up, Freerun Season 2. Freerun needs no introduction. It's become one of the most beloved anime in the 2020s, and even managed to dethrone Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood from its #1 spot on MAL. Not that matters. Given the cultural impact that Freerun has had on modern anime culture, Season 2 has a lot to live up to. One of the first things to note about Season 2 is that it's not directed by the same person who directed Season 1, Keiichiro Saito. Instead, it's directed by Tomoya Kitagawa, who had directed the last 12 episodes of Season 1. I don't think there's really been much of a change in the artwork. Maybe there's a slight decrease in quality, but for the most part, it seems just as beautiful as the Season 1. Okay, I gotta cut to the chase here. I'm an impatient person. I have a hard time paying attention to something when it's not immediately grabbing my attention, and as much as I want to love Freerun, it's very slow. It's also gotten a lot more formulaic for Season 2, so the slowness has been a bit harder on me personally. I don't know, I don't have much else to say about this season. It's just not hitting me as hard as Season 1 did. There are a lot of good moments, admittedly. I loved Fern and Stark's date. I'm having a hard time putting this into words. It's a good show, not as strong as Season 1, but I still enjoyed it. There are just other shows that I like more this season. I have mixed feelings about Fate. The franchise, I mean, not the concept. I saw Unlimited Blade Works was pretty good, but wasn't really as good as I was expecting it to be. I saw a lot of the Fate Grand Order adaptations, and they were a mixed bag. Some of them were really good, some of them I wish I never saw again. Apocrypha betrayed me by giving me a lot of characters I liked and then killing them way too fast before they had any sense of development. But Strange Fate, though? That had something. Now this is a matter of who's behind the wheel in this case, because this shares the same author as Bacano, which is one of my favorite series of all time. And one of the main appeals of that series was how it's able to juggle a large amount of characters and make them all exciting and fun. Some of my favorite characters come from this franchise, and it also has some absolutely bonkers ideas for like both its masters and servants. With Fate Stay Night, the masters are just mages and the servants are just, normal historical figures and whatnot. In Strange Fate, the master could be a dog and he could pull Enkidu, or whatever they're pronounced. One character has Jack the Ripper, and instead of being a small child, they're this being that could turn into anything because Jack the Ripper doesn't have a form. Jack the Ripper was never found, so therefore he can be anything that anyone wants him to be. which is just a cool concept. One of the masters is a vampire, and he's such a bad dude, but even his servant is like, I can't serve that guy. Strange Fake's Saber is so likable and charismatic that I'd rather hang out with him than like OG Saber. And unlike Apocrypha, these characters have so much care put into their character arcs that if they did die at some point, I would actually feel something. I don't even really want to get too far into like each character's motivations, because at this point I'm just trying to recommend you to something. Though I do have a few criticisms. I know I'm going to sound crazy for this, but I feel like a lot of this show's screen time is more fights than it should be. It sucks to say that because the fights are really, really good. They're gorgeous, but they're also like, I want these characters to just hang out and have fun sometimes, like they do in like the ED or something. It's just fun to see them unwind and stuff. It also does the Fate thing of having a bit too much dialogue and exposition, and that happens over the fight. Episode 6 is probably one of the best looking episodes of the entire season, anime season in general, but it's also just a lot of talking, so it's just hard to really appreciate everything that's going on because I'm trying to soak in both the visuals and what they're saying. At that point, I'm pretty much choosing one or the other. It's hard for me to pay attention to both. Either way, this is the most fun I've had with Fate. Honestly, would recommend this to anyone, even if they don't really... okay, how about this? If you want to watch this series, just watch Unlimited Blade Works, then go straight to this. You don't need to worry about watching Zero or anything. I didn't even watch Zero. I shouldn't have said that. Next up is JJK Season 3. I was struggling to choose between this and Strange Fake for the second place spot, because they both have their own unique pitfalls that, depending on the episode, I'll have to choose between one or the other. But for the most part, JJK Season 3 is freaking baller. Shoto Goshizono directed the season 2, and it was one of my favorite pieces of animation of all time. So seeing him in the director's seat again is just so good. I'm sorry, but this is just one of the best art and animation. I know that MAPPA gets a lot of flack for being awful, but like when they have talented people behind the wheel, they put out some good stuff. That one shot of episode 1 where Itadori is sitting in the church bathed in this red light. The way Nyaya's animation frame powers are visualized. Just episode 4 period. I'm sure Mappa's screwing them over behind the scenes, but like for what they're doing right now, it looks gorgeous. It's not even just like the fights either. It's just I love these characters, man. There's Hikari's whole thesis statement he lays out in the end of episode 5. Episode 8 is just about a lawyer trying to fight for the truth in the midst of impossible odds. Panda is there for some reason, but I don't care because Panda is there. JJK is still one of my favorite modern shonens, but it still has some issues. Some of the fight mechanics are so incomprehensible that they need a graph to explain how everything works. In fact, a lot of things in the show need a super complicated explanation. The most egregious example of this is episode 3, which the entire episode is dedicated to explaining the rules of the culling game, which is the whole point of the series. An entire episode was dedicated to reading the instruction manual for the story. I'm sure seasons 1 and 2 had this problem as well, but when you're really forced to just listen to everything that's being said, it just feels a bit overwhelming for me personally, and it kind of makes it hard to really enjoy everything that's happening on screen in the process. That being said, I like this season a lot. I prefer it over Strange Fake because, surprisingly enough, JJK actually has space for quieter moments that Strange Fake I wish had more of. But it's not my favorite of the season.
ジャスティン・ビーバー歌って。
The number one spot goes to Journal of Witch. I had a hard time trying to create a write-up for this series because it's hard for me to justify why something is the best. That's something I've always had trouble with whenever I was writing on my blog or whatever. I think what really drew me to this series is just the handling of the concept of grief. Which I have a lot of bias towards. The show kicks off with Makio getting the news that her sister and brother-in-law have essentially died in a car accident. and their 15-year-old daughter is essentially left without a home. Makio never really liked her sister all that much, but she cares enough for the daughter that she's like, okay, you can have a place to live. Makio wasn't exactly a very emotionally adjusted person, but she has like at least a care for other people in her. Asa is also a sweet girl as well, even though she's going through a lot of stuff. The show is equal parts them trying to understand each other as well as them trying to understand the situation that they're in. A lot of scenes really pierce through my heart because I'm not gonna trauma dump here. I don't want to trauma dump this early into my YouTube career, but a lot of people have died in my family. I won't get too far into it, but that scene in episode 8 where after all this time she's just crying to herself and then she realizes my parents are dead, just sitting alone in her bedroom crying to herself. That's just so real because it doesn't happen immediately sometimes. It happens at a moment where you least expect it and you realize, oh shoot, they're gone. Sorry, I can't. I gotta talk about something else or I'm just gonna get depressed. Music is incredible, no notes. I didn't notice this at first, but one of my analyst mutuals pointed out that it has a train of thought style of directing where it'll be 3 separate scenes and they'll show bits and pieces of each scene next to each other, jumping from concept to concept to express the same idea. What I'm trying to say here is that the storytelling is mostly non-linear, yet all these scenes connect with each other in ways that make sense. It's something that I didn't even notice until I really looked at it, and honestly, I think that's a testament to how naturally it flows. Heck, even the moments where it turns into like an entirely imaginary sequence, like everything turns into a desert, it just kind of flows naturally because that just feels like characters are at in their mental state. Anything to say about this show that I can express without crying is that you just kind of need someone to be there for you. Times can be rough, and having someone there to help you out through your worst moments is very important. Also, I think Makio is very pretty, but that's aside the point. My first love